Thank you. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Okay, 2 people are doing good. How you doing? You all right? You having a nice day? All women learning how to work? Good. Before anyone asks, because I know you're all wondering, what the hell did you do to your ankle? I'll tell you that story really quick. I was walking out my front door and broke both of my feet at the same time. Ooh, shock. I mean, that was 4 years ago, and literally all the doctors and nurses went, who does that? You know? But I'm all recovered, and I just had some metal work removed. So I had that done Friday. I'm not going to lie to you. I got a little anesthetic still left in me. This could turn into a very interesting talk. Right, so, and if you guys don't mind, I might need to sit for some of this. Is that going to be cool with you guys? Yes. Wicked. So today I'm here to talk to you guys about Heroines of Hollywood and the business lessons that we can learn from them. And over the next 45 minutes, I'm going to go through a quick little idea of what we're going to be doing. This is a brand new talk. I have no idea if it's going to fit 45 minutes, but we're going to try. But can you forgive me if there's any typos or anything in this presentation? Is that okay with you guys? Yeah. Wonderful, thank you. I'm going to talk to you about 7 women who helped revolutionize technology, culture, business, and I'm going to show you lessons that we can learn that you can apply in your own lives and in your own business. And for the men who are here, you can do it too. It's not just for women. And then I'm also going to ask you guys, I'm a bit of a different speaker, in case you can't tell. I like to be interactive with you. I like to have a little bit more fun. It makes the 45 minutes go by faster. But to do that, I need you to interact with me. So is it okay if we have fun and we interact? Yeah. Okay, gotta have to do better than that. Is it big reactions? I'm here with a broken foot. Come on, is it okay? Is it okay? Yes, yes, woo, that's what I see, arms up in the air. Is it okay if we have fun? Yes. Woo, I heard clapping. I'm all for clapping. Good. And then by all means, afterwards, there's a break. So please, if there's anything here, that you want to talk about more, come and see me. I'm around. I can't escape you. So literally. So come and say hello, okay? Cool, so who am I? Well, when I can walk, that's kind of what I look like on stage. I am a journalist, I am a producer, I am a presenter, I am an entrepreneur. I run a company called Sarsaparilla, and what I do is I help companies make money from their marketing, yeah? And I've been working for 25 years in the arts and entertainment industry, helping, I like helping the businesses who are the creative industries, but I have helped all sorts of different businesses. But I've spent 25 years working with movies, and television and all the rest. And before I get into things, let me tell you a little story about how my career first started. Started when I was 14, 15 years old. I walked into the journalism room at my local high school, and I saw that we had laid out the next issue of our next newspaper, and it had an interview with a little actress at the time called Julia Roberts. Anybody know her? Yeah, of course we do. And she had just finished doing Pretty Woman, and I said to my teacher, did we actually get this interview with Julia Roberts? And she said, yeah. And I went, how did we, just a little nobody high school newspaper, get this interview? And she told me something that changed my life. She said, you can reach anyone, anywhere, with 7 phone calls and knowing the right thing to say. I thought, awesome. There's a power in that. Who do I want to meet? And I came up with this guy. Oh, where's my clicker? There it goes. Came up with that guy. Does anybody recognize him? Agassi. Back when he had hair. So you know I'm a bit older than I look, darlings. Right? So this is me, and I thought, wow, oh my God, it really worked. And that started a career where I got to work with, as I mentioned, some of the most amazing people that you can imagine in the arts and entertainment industry. That's me, by the way, hitting accidentally on Benny from ABBA. I didn't mean to. That's another story for another talk. But anyway, so that's kind of my little collage there. And then I started thinking, I wanted to do this fun talk. I wanted to bring all that arts and entertainment into my talk. So I thought, obviously film has had a big influence on people's lives. And I started thinking, what was the first kind of introduction into film that I have here? And I'm going to see if I can get over to this thing and click onto the video while I'm doing. But I started thinking about Mary Poppins. When I was a little kid, all I wanted was to be Mary Poppins or like live with Mary Poppins. Like most kids, I was obsessed with Disney stuff and all the rest. And actually, there's funny video footage here. Cue the funny video footage of me No, not gonna work? Okay. Well, anyway, I thought my parents took, when I was 2 years old, I thought they were taking me to Disney World to live with those penguins. They're in this scene, so there's a funny video of me at 2 years old walking away, never looking back at my parents, just like, see ya. Going, and I thought, yeah, okay. So, and here I am living in London all these years later, and so, dreams do come true. But I thought to myself, wow, the movies really have this strong influence over who we are and what we do and how we live our lives and all the rest. And I decided when I started doing this search for this presentation, I typed in strong females, and this is what came up. Now, at first you kind of look at this, you go, yeah, strong females in film, yay. And then you start realizing something. You start realizing those first four, what do they have in common? They're prostitutes. And then the next ones, they're bitches. And then those, they're ditzes. And then the last group, they're murderous psychopaths. And I said, something's wrong here. Something's wrong. So I said, what are prostitutes, bitches, ditzes, and murderers? What we think of when we think of strong women. That's not right. So and then I started thinking back to my childhood. I said, who influenced me as a child? I couldn't really come up with many strong, badass women. And I started, and this was all I could come up with, And I said, wow, okay, as great as all these women are, that's a small little list there. Would you agree? Anybody relate to this? Yeah, and then as I was getting older in the 90s, there was a few more trickled in. That was cool. And then now, obviously, we've got a lot more pretty badass women, which is great. It's awesome. But I started realizing where are the Hollywood heroines who represent me? Where are the ones who really are, representative of great business women and the women that I know and the women in this room here today? It's cool to have superheroes, but we need something a little bit more relatable. So I made my own list of badass women in Hollywood. You want to hear it? Yeah. Okay, do you want to hear it? Yeah. All right, awesome. I'm going to give it to you. So here we go, heroines of Hollywood and the business lessons that we can learn from them. I'm going to start with the business lessons and then give you the example of the women who go with it. So the first thing that I think every single person in business can learn from and grow from and should always be striving to work towards is learning to be a better communicator. Yeah, you don't need to be a professional speaker and stand up on the stage and talk to people, but you need to be able to articulate your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas when you're sitting down one-to-one with somebody selling, when you're trying to get that big contract, even just when you're working one-to-one with clients and helping them to understand and do better as well. So being a better communicator. Who is the best person I could think of to exemplify great communication? It's Mae West. We all know Mae West? We do. So she was a playwright, an actress, and a singer. I'm going to tell you some fun facts about her that you might not have known before. She was obviously known for her sassy double entendres. In fact, she said that when she'd go down to a coffee shop, even the coffee guys wouldn't know whether or not she was really actually ordering a coffee or if there was some sort of double meaning in it, which I think is fantastic. So what you may not know about her is she actually started off her career writing risque plays, which of course we wouldn't find risque by today's standards at all. But she started off writing these plays in New York on Broadway. Her first one was called Sex, which you can imagine what that was like in the turn of the century. We're talking 1910s, right? The 1910s. Saying sex is crazy as a title. But she wrote and she produces and she directed and she starred in all of these productions. The entire cast was arrested, you can imagine, just off the main title. There was no sex in the actual play whatsoever. But she just knew that would bring her great PR. She actually served, as a fun fact, 10 days in jail for it. She got off after 8 days on good behavior, and she told all the press that she was the only person in prison wearing silk panties. The second play she wrote was called The Drag. It was about drag queens and homosexuality, which again, in 1910s, really, really controversial. It never made it to New York. It just continuously got banned. So you can imagine anywhere else that she put it. It wound up people would come far and wide to come see her plays. Just because of the titles that were fantastic. She wrote additional ones called The Wicked Age, Pleasure Man, The Constant Sinner. She had a knack for titles. She had a real knack for them. Again, none of them had nudity, sex, or violence. All were censored just for the language. And she understood the power in language. And she has this great quote that says, "I believe in censorship. I made a fortune off of it." Right? So she's pretty fabulous. So the really interesting about her is she was offered her first Hollywood contract when she was nearly 40. So are all you women in the audience going, maybe I'm too old to do this or do that? BS. Because if she was making it in Hollywood at a time where it was nothing but glamour and women were really just thought of mostly as, you know, icons and whatnot and Barbie dolls, if she could do it at 40, girlfriends, you can too. So I thought that was pretty interesting. She played, you know, we all know her as playing this freewheeling kind of sexually secure, classy, liberated woman, which was fantastic, and it's timeless because we love her still today for it. She rewrote most of her lines. She hated the scripts that were given to her. She says, yeah, all right, I'll do this movie, but you gotta let me have the permission to change some of the lines. And that's where she really created her brand. That's where she really created who she was, because she knew how to communicate. She knew how to create those great little one-liners. And within a year of moving to Hollywood and making her first film for them, she saved Paramount from bankruptcy. That film made $2 million, which in today's money is $140 million. And she saved Paramount Studios, basically, and they've named a lot after her as a result of it. Within 1 year, she was the second richest person in all of America. Pretty amazing, huh? Yes, give her an applause. Yes, I like applause. Yes. All because of language and communications, yeah? She has this great line that says, I was the first liberated woman. No guy was gonna get the best of me. That's why I wrote all my scripts about. She just wrote about what she knew. She knew about really understanding the game and how it all worked and what really people were looking to hear. She has famous lines such as, between two evils, I like to pick the one I haven't tried before. And we all know, is that a gun in your pocket or are you just happy to see me? And come up and see me sometime, right? We all know these great one-liners. She was an early supporter of gay rights. She was an early supporter of the women's liberation, although she said I wasn't exactly a burn your bra type. She lived in this wonderful building called the Ravenswood from 1930 to 1980. And when she had a boyfriend named Gorilla Jones, he was a boxer and he was African American, and they wouldn't let him in because he was black. So what did she do? She bought the whole building. She lifted the ban. Yeah, exactly. Fabulous lady. Wouldn't you? Turn the person next to you and say, she is a fabulous lady. Go on. We're gonna be quirky and fun. We're gonna be quirky and fun. And when Hollywood censored, so Hollywood when the Second World War started coming about, the censors went a little bit crazy and they started censoring everything. In fact, they called her and many other actresses Hollywood poison because of the horrible ideas that she was putting into people's heads. And so she left, she went to Vegas, and she spent the rest of her career she left the movie industry for about 25 years, and she came back after 25 years. But she went and did what she wanted to do in the outlets that would allow it. And Salvador Dali, that's another fun fact, turned her lips into, have you ever seen the chairs, the sofas that are made like lips? Those are Mae West lips. Yeah, exactly. Cool, so that's Mae West. Turn the person to you and go, she's fabulous. She is fabulous. The second thing we're going to talk about is innovating, yeah? You should always be striving to innovate within your industry. If you just try to do what everybody else is doing, your business doesn't have longevity behind it, yeah? Always have to be ahead of the curve and innovate. Movies themselves are a huge step forward in innovation. It started with the first movie ever, which was called Exiting the Factory. This came out in 1895. It literally was just that, 1 minute of footage of people exiting a factory. That was considered the first one. The first feature-length movie was called The Jazz Singer, and it took many years, as you can see. 1927 is when we finally got around to a first feature-length film. The first full feature-length animated movie was Snow White in 1937, which obviously still endures to today. The Wizard of Oz, the first Technicolor motion picture. And Toy Story, the first feature-length computer animated film. But the person who really helped push innovation forward was a woman called Hedy Lamarr. Do we all know Hedy? We do. So only a couple of people know her, I think. She's an amazing woman, too. She was an actress and an inventor. She was born in Vienna. She was told that she was ugly. You think she's ugly? No. Heck no, right? She fled the Nazis. She fled a controlling husband. She did a film called Ecstasy, again, before those big censors came along. It was called Ecstasy, and it was all very controversial because it looked like she was having an orgasm basically on film. She wasn't, but it had that kind of look, and so everybody went mad for it, going, oh, she's just exhaling a little bit too wildly for us. And and so it was banned, and the women's groups went wild trying to, say she was big, harlot. But the head of, and I love this story, when she was trying to become an actress, she went to the head of MGM and he said to her, look, okay, you're pretty, we can work with you, I'll give you $125 a week. And she said, no. No, as desperate as she was to get into Hollywood, she went, mm-mm. She found out what his travel itinerary was, bought a ticket on the train, showed up on the train, had him cornered on the train, impressed him so much that by the end of the train ride, she wound up getting a deal with him for $500 a week. Pretty good, right? She's smart cookie. But she was so beautiful that when she did movies, they hardly gave her any lines, which made her incredibly bored. So what did she decide to do with her boredom? She decided to start inventing things. And Howard Hughes, who you guys may know from the movie The Aviator, he was a big fan of hers. He was building all the initial planes and stuff that were going, he was really the innovator with aviation and commercial aviation. And he would show her designs and she would say, no, this is too boxy, you need to change this, you need to do that. And he was so impressed by her, he basically gave her facilities, all his, he said, you have access to all my money and everybody I know, you just build whatever the heck you want. And some of the things that she had no formal training, she was self-taught. Some of the things she did help to improve what are now traffic lights today. The technology she created also, I've lost my clicker, tablets that carbonate liquid she had created. But what she's really known for the most is creating a frequency hopping signal that allowed guided missiles. She wanted to help out with the war. So she realized that these missiles, their tracing stuff could be jammed. And she created this signal that allowed guided missiles not to be jammed so that they could stay on course and we could win the war. Now, that got ignored. And it was only 20 years later that the government decided to pay attention to it. And that technology also has led to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So Hedy Lamarr, basically invented Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and a lot of weapon stuff. She's an amazing lady, wouldn't you say? Yeah. Turn to the person next to you and go, another amazing lady. Amazing. Do it. Good, next person, and maybe Jess will give me a 10-minute warning when I'm at 10 minutes because I can tell okay, well, it's all right, cool. We're having fun, right? Yeah. Cool. Learn to adapt. Now this is something a lot of businesses don't do. It drives me crazy. They're like, tunnel vision, must go here, must do this, and it doesn't work. You have to learn to adapt. Yeah? And who did that better than Lucille Ball? Who loves Lucy? Yes, I love Lucy. Back in the bag, yes. Okay, cool. She was an actress, comedian, TV producer, film studio executive, but here's some stuff you didn't know about her. She was the star of I Love Lucy and other TV programs. Her show was the first to use the word, well, she wasn't allowed to use the word pregnancy, right? She wasn't allowed to say she was pregnant, but she was pregnant during the filming, and she worked it within the theme of the show. But she had to get around all the censors because apparently pregnancy was a vulgar word. There was a time, not too long ago, sadly. And so she helped to change the dynamics of allowing that being a normal thing to see on TV. And by the way, her giving birth to her son on TV is to this day the highest rated show ever. 44 million people tuned in, which was something like 3/4 of America at that time. So it was hugely changing for the television world. She changed the dynamics of female friendship. If you look at her and her friend Ethel on the show, they are equals, and they don't talk to one another constantly about men and complain about men or anything like that, or their housework and all that sort of stuff. They are two women who are constantly trying to get away from the typical female housewife thing. They're looking for adventures together. They're having fun together. They're being good buddies. And as simple as that seems now today, because it's what we all do with our friends and we don't even notice it in a show like this, again, at that time, it was wildly different to see two women talking about something other than what they were going to make for dinner tonight. Seeing two women talk about something other than moaning about their, at their husband's expense jokes. They were talking about their lives. And that was a big change for television as well. She used a technique which had 3 cameras. She was also the first multi-ethnic marriage. They did not want to allow her husband, Desi Arnaz, to be on the show with her. They didn't think the American audiences would accept a Cuban. But she insisted on it, and of course, everybody loved him too. They were the first people her and her husband came up with the idea of syndication so that they can make lots of money and rerun rights. And so they were the first millionaires within TV, actually. And yeah, so she was a real, oh, here comes the anesthetic. Groundbreaking woman. That's what I'm looking for there. She started as a model, and then she worked on Broadway. I might need to sit for a couple minutes if that's cool with you guys. You cool? Yeah. All right, I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna put, it's the chair, I swear. I'm gonna put that up there. Is that okay with everybody? Yeah. Am I not flashing anybody here in the front? Okay. All right, so she started as a model, then on Broadway, and then she was working in Hollywood. She has a very successful career in Hollywood. She was scorned for looking in the mirror as a kid. Her family didn't have mirrors. And they caught her once looking at herself in the one mirror in the house, and her mother said, you know, you're ugly, stop looking at yourself. This is shameful for you to look at yourself in such a positive way. And she was told she would never make it. She didn't have what it would take. But she did, and boy, did she. And she worked with the Three Stooges, she worked with the Marx Brothers, she worked with Fred Astaire. She saw this opportunity in TV. She saw in the 50s how TV was a technology that was taking over film and giving film a run for its money. And she adapted and said, I'm gonna see what happens if I move into that. And in the end, she was nominated for 13 Emmys. She won 4. She has 2 Walk of Fame stars. She mentored Carol Burnett. And the most interesting thing I think about her is that she started this production company with her husband. They called it Desilu Productions. In 1962, they got divorced, and she bought him out. And she bought him out of his shares in the company, becoming the first woman to run a major TV studio. Pretty good, right? But what's even more interesting is that TV studio went on to then be responsible for bringing shows like Mission Impossible and Star Trek to us. And that was adapting with the times. Again, she's such a forerunner, and she's adapting with what the audience wants. She overruled her board of directors who did not want Star Trek or Mission Impossible to become a thing. It was sci-fi, they didn't get it, they didn't understand it, how was it gonna fit? She said, nope, this is gonna work. And she actually paid out of her own pocket to help make a second pilot for Star Trek. That show, as we know, was the first to go on to tackle controversial issues such as black women in power with Uhura, interracial relationships with the kiss between Uhura and Kirk. And both shows launched innovation and technology advances, which is why we have things like iPhones and iPads. All this technology that we have today is based because some kid grew up watching Star Trek and went, I want to be able to touch screens and go beep, bop, boop, 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 and things just happen. So we really have Lucille Ball to thank for so much of our innovation and Star Trek and fun movies like that and television shows and so much today, right? So turn the person next to you and say, Lucille Ball is a ball. I'm making up crap. I'm a little bit high. I'm not going to lie to you. All right. I'm not on any additional drugs. It's just still the anesthetic, I swear. The next one is Think and Be Different, yeah? And the one I like to use for this one is Gypsy Rose Lee. How many people here know who Gypsy Rose Lee is? Show of hands. Yeah, a couple of people. Good, cool. She's not what you normally think of in Hollywood, but I absolutely adore her, and I'm going to tell you why. She's known as she was a burlesque performer, an actress, an author, and a playwright. And before you judge and go, ooh, burlesque, she's a stripper, before you do that, understand this. Burlesque existed for 300 years. Burlesque, by definition, means comedy. It was done by men initially. And it's the comedy act that would come between vaudeville kind of acts. One day, she's doing her little routine, as legend goes, and a strap on her dress broke. And her dress went, womp, womp, womp. And the men went crazy. And she thought, maybe that's gonna have to accidentally on purpose happen again tomorrow night. And she found that she had this huge success. Now listen, she was a smart cookie. And so what she would do is her acts actually never really revealed as much as you were gonna think in your mind that they did. In fact, she became known as being the woman who really put the emphasis on the tease in striptease. It was all about teasing, not showing. And she actually used to do intellectual recitation while doing it, Go on and Google it. Look at her up on YouTube. It's pretty interesting stuff. And this was spoofed in the scene called Strip in Pal Joey. If you guys like musical theater, you've ever seen the musical Pal Joey, Rita Hayworth does a spoof on this where she's talking intellectual stuff while being like, boop, there goes a little thing. She was arrested many times, again, like Mae West, arrested just because of the titles or the thoughts behind what people think is there, but not really for literally what was actually there. Does that make sense? And she wound up writing a book about her life and how her mother really got her into this industry. Good old mom. And that became a musical and a movie called Gypsy, which I'm sure almost everybody's probably seen. Do we know Gypsy? Yes. Do we know Gypsy? Yes. Yeah, okay, a few people do. Cool, so, and that was from her memoirs. And there's a great scene in there called Gotta Have a Gimmick, where she's learning that you've got to have something that makes you different. And again, with your businesses, you need something that makes you different. It's not enough to be like everyone else. Today, the equivalent of Gypsy is Dita Von Teese. And if you've gone to a Dita Von Teese show, which I did last week, you'll see that 75% of the audience is female. We were all dressed to the nines, like in the 1940s kind of Hollywood glamorous kind of way. And we go there not to go there, because we all get turned on watching her strip. We go there because it's a celebration of your womanhood and being able to express yourself any old way you want to. And we think, good for you, girl, good for you. And the great thing I think about burlesque is it's the only form of entertainment that I know that doesn't care about your age. There's 85-year-olds still working in that business. It doesn't matter about your weight. The most popular burlesque performer today is a woman called Dirty Martini. She's probably about 300 pounds. Yeah, so none of that matters. Your age, nothing matters within that world. It's just whether or not you're good at entertaining people. Am I doing a good job of entertaining you? You're just saying that. You're just saying that. Good, so it's a symbol of female empowerment, elegance, and class now, which I think is really interesting considering back then it was so risque. The next thing is be resourceful. What is this one? Be resourceful. Awesome. It's good. Getting you guys to talk isn't just for my entertainment. It kind of keeps you awake because food comas are coming. We got to keep that food coma away. This is Elizabeth Taylor, which I know we all know Elizabeth Taylor. She was known as an actress, a businesswoman, and a humanitarian. She was married 8 times. We all know that. We know she loved diamonds. She was a teenage star, and she did a bunch of movies that you'd all remember and know. But the most popular movie that she did was a movie called Cleopatra in 1963. This was known as the most talked about movie of all time. And she was the first actress to ever be paid $1 million for her role. She also negotiated getting 10% of the profits and made them use a format, a widescreen format that she had inherited from her ex-husband. So she was making money left, right, and center from this movie. And it cost $62 million to make. It was one of the most expensive movies made of all time. It nearly bankrupted Fox. She doesn't care. She's Liz, and she's fabulous. She raised, in her lifetime, she started AIDS. She was a huge fan of AIDS charity, and giving to people who were suffering with AIDS. She raised $270 million in her life to help that cause. She said, I wanted to retire, but the tabloids wouldn't let me, so I thought, if you're going to screw me over, I'm going to use you for good. Go, Liz. She apparently had an underground network of people who were bringing non-FDA approved drugs to patients who needed desperately anything to try to help save their lives. But what Liz really did and really did right with her resources is she's the first celebrity to ever have a perfume brand, to have something that was more than just her image that she can make money off of, to productize her brand, if you will. And she did that in collaboration with Elizabeth Arden. She released 11 fragrances in all, and she earned more through her perfumes than she ever did from all of her movies combined. She died with an estimated total worth of $1 billion, and most of that was from her perfumes. Turn to the person next to you and go, Liz is a badass bitch. Because she is. Am I allowed to curse at the library, Jess? Crap, I should have asked that ahead of time, sorry. All right, how am I doing on time? Ages, so it doesn't matter. I love this audience, you guys are great, cool. Okay, the next is be obsessive. What is it? Be obsessive. Who's obsessive? More obsessive than Barbra Streisand. She's fabulous, darlings, fabulous. Okay, so everybody knows Barbra Streisand's fabulous. You don't need me to tell you that. But I have to say, when I started looking up stuff on her, I was like, Jesus, Lord, there is a lot of information on Barbra Streisand. A lot of stuff I didn't know. So singer, songwriter, actress, filmmaker. Cool, that's good. She's got a PGOT. She's one of the few people, I think there's only like 13 people in the world who've got a PGOT, which is a Peabody Award, an Emmy Award, a Grammy Award, an Oscar, and a Tony. Yeah, she's got a lot of them. She's got a lot of all of those awards, as a matter of fact. She was the first woman to be honored as a composer at the Academy Awards. She wrote Evergreen. Do we know the song Evergreen? Am I the only person? Are you all younger than me and don't know it? A couple people know it? Lovely song, and it's from A Star Is Born, which is out as a movie now. That song is not in it anymore. You gotta watch the Barbra version to watch that. She's sold 150 million records worldwide. And she's only been outsold by Elvis and the Beatles. She has the most top 10 albums of any artist. She's got 34 altogether. And she's the female with the most #1 albums. She's had 11. So not Mariah Carey, not Beyonce, it's Barbra, darlings. Barbra. And she's the only recording artist to have a #1 in each decade for the past 6 decades. I love this woman's face. You're like, yeah, good, I love it, yeah. Barbra, okay? She can't read or write music. That's crazy, right? What the hell? Try the person next to you and go, what the heck? All right, I think one person just did that. Good for you, whoever you are. She suffers horrible stage fright. So for 25 years, she didn't do a single live concert, because she had terrible stage fright. Her mother begged her not to go into showbiz, didn't think she was good enough. There's a pattern there if you haven't picked it up yet. But she's the highest paid concert performer in history, and tickets to her shows go up to $1,500. And she has raised over $25 million in charity. Now, I like to just put that on there to put into perspective. If Barbra did 25 million and Elizabeth did 270 million, do you realize the power of Elizabeth now? I mean, it's crazy, right? So she has a great quote. She says, I've been called many names, like perfectionist, difficult, obsessive. I think it takes obsession, it takes searching for the details for any artist to be good. And it's true in business. Be obsessive with your business. Search for all those details. Be a complete and total utter geek about it, because that's awesome. And that's what's going to lead to whether you're just okay at what you do or whether you're a major success at what you do. Most people don't just fall into it. Now, the Barbra that influenced me the most is the Yentl Barbra. Has anybody seen, hands up if you've seen Yentl? Wow, okay, a couple of people. I'm surprised. Most people don't even, good audience. Good audience, Jess. Okay, so she set up a Barwood film in 1972, and she brought Yentl, which is a story that she wrote and she wanted to bring to the big screen. And all the major film studios turned her down until she managed to get Orion Pictures, which now is very big, but at the time was very small, to say yes to her. And in doing it, she became the first woman to write, produce, direct, and star in a major studio film. And she wound up doing this and repeating this again with Prince of Tides and The Mirror Has Two Faces. But this was the first. This movie, medicine, was nominated for 5 Oscars, but not in the major categories. 5 Oscars, but they didn't put her up for Best Director, Best Producer, Best Picture, none of the big ones that would have won her specifically. But it won for Best Score. But it did win her the Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture, and she became the first and to date the only woman to win that award. And I love the byline for this movie, which if you don't know what it's basically about a Jewish woman who is expected, it's like something like out of Fiddler on the Roof type of thing. She's expected to be a good woman, a good housewife, marry who her parents say, live that kind of traditional life. And she's like, no, I want to learn to read and write, and I want to learn all the scholarly things, and I want to contribute in a bigger way. And it becomes her journey to do that. She chops off her hair and basically makes herself look like a boy to try to convince the world that she's a boy. She runs away, and as a boy tries to make her way in the world. It's really good. Go home and watch it. It will inspire you. But the byline is nothing is impossible, right? So turn to the person next to you and go, just like Barbra did, in her SNL clip and go, I'm verklempt. Turn to the person next to you and go, Barbara's got me verklempt. Go on. Talk amongst yourselves. Prince of Tides is neither about princes nor tides. Discuss. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's an SNL skit. Anyway. And then finally, my final example here is, go back. Know what makes you great, okay? Don't try to be something you're not. Know what makes you great. Every one of you is different. Don't try to be something you're not. If you're really bad at math, don't try to become an accountant and do all your accounting yourself. If you're really bad at marketing, don't try to do all the marketing yourself. Know what your strengths are. Know what you are good at. Follow those. Now, who does that better than Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot? Whoa, who's seen Wonder Woman? Yeah, let's see if I can get you guys to do this. Can I get you all to go, Wonder Woman? Do it for me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wonder Woman. Fabulous. I just wanted to see if I could get you to do it, and you did. Made my day. Thank you. Right, so Gadot. She's an actress, but what you might not know about her is she was Miss Israel 2004. She served 2 years in the Israeli Defense Forces teaching other people how to combat. She was a combat instructor. She could really kick your ass. Literally. She studied law and international relations in school, and she performs her own stunt work. Bet you didn't see that one coming, right? Jenkins, on the left there, is a director and screenwriter inspired by the original Superman movie with Christopher Reeves. Endured many setbacks as she was trying to build her career as a director. But with Wonder Woman, it became the biggest opening for a female director. She's the first female director of a US superhero movie. It's the highest grossing film directed by a woman. And record-breaking fees she's the first woman to actually get the same fees as other male directors in Hollywood. I think she deserves a round of applause for that. She's pretty badass. So, okay, why is Wonder Woman so special? Because if you've seen it, maybe you know. Am I going to sit here and tell you it's the greatest movie on earth? It's not, people. It's not the greatest movie on earth, but it's great for other reasons. It is a really good movie, but here I'm going to talk about why I think it's fantastic. Well, first and foremost, there was no real marketing push behind the movie. DC movies weren't doing very well. All of the Superman movies weren't doing well. They were a bit cursed, as we know. The Batman movies weren't doing well, except for the Christopher Nolan series. So DC was really struggling, and they didn't think that Wonder Woman was going to be the thing that saved them, so they didn't push the marketing for this film. And despite that, it wound up being a massive success. It broke, again, more records. It's the 5th highest grossing superhero film of all time, and it's the 20th highest grossing film ever, of all movies, ever. And it's made $121 million so far. And over 50% of the audience is female, which again, the marketing people over at DC didn't see coming. Okay, so now I'm gonna get on my little soapbox and tell you why I think Wonder Woman's fabulous, okay? First and foremost, I cried. Did anybody else cry during it? Or am I the geek? You did, awesome. Anybody else? You did, okay, women cried. Why did we cry? I'm gonna tell you why I cried. You tell me if it's the same reason. First and foremost, I saw for the first time in a film a young girl longing to be a badass chick. And that's not something you see. And I grew up as a young girl. I grew up around lots of boys. Did anybody else grow up around lots of boys? Right? So we grew up fighting and all that sort of stuff, right? In the backyard, beating each other up. It was good fun. It was like you grew up like one of the boys. I've never seen a little girl looking at warrior princesses and, being all in combat and thinking, yeah, I want to do that. I thought, that's me as a little girl. And I saw that was the first moment that I went, oh, this movie's totally going to be for me. They get it. The second is, it was the first time I saw an all-female cast of warriors coming into battle, and you thought, holy crap, they're going to kick our butts, right? And this was amazing to see this just all-female army coming together, all these women coming and working together in this kind of way to defeat evil and all that sort of stuff. So I cried there. Did anybody cry at that part? No, that wasn't the part for you, okay. Okay, it was a little bit, okay, cool. And then, okay, now I'm gonna sound like a complete total psychopath, but go with me here. I loved that she actually killed somebody in cold blood. I cried. I cried when she plunged a sword through the baddie's heart. And I hope that's not giving away too much. But I'll tell you why. Because for many years, I watched so many films and movies where the woman would get to that point, right up to that point where they had to kind of finish the job, let's say. And they'd go, no, I'm a woman. We don't do those kind of things. I'm like, no, honey, if that guy did that to me, I'd be throwing that right through his heart. Right through his heart. And swear to God, I've never killed anybody. But do you know what I'm trying to say here? It was the first time where you really saw a woman finish the job. And I thought that was very risky for Patty Jenkins to do. Very, very risky indeed for Hollywood, because to turn Wonder Woman into a killer, like that could have gone two ways. But I thought it was fantastic. And I became angry when I saw people saying this movie is so successful because it's all about peace, love, and happiness, and Wonder Woman's all like very, very soft and feminine. I'm like, no, she's not she just killed a guy. Like, did you not get that part in the movie? She killed somebody. She's not all super soft. And I got really angry. I said, I hope that second movie they don't mess it up, because this is why it's so great. Godot is literally a real military. They found somebody who really could kick somebody's ass, who really could be put into that situation that Wonder Woman was put in that movie. And it comes across as completely genuine. Not only could she really kick your butt and you believe her, she's not sitting there worried about whether she looks pretty on film. She's like, she's not like that. She's like, she's making these horrible faces. She doesn't care. She's really being real. It doesn't emasculate men, right? We don't want to emasculate men. We love men. So that was fantastic. None of these women did that. And it didn't make fun of itself. That was the other thing. A lot of these comic book movies make fun of itself. This was not making fun of itself. It said, look, this is very genuine. There are funny moments, but it never made fun of itself. And that's why I think Wonder Woman works. Would you agree?
Yes.
Good. So what do these women have in common? I got 5 minutes left. Am I okay? 5. Okay, perfect. That's all I got for you. Get ready for the end, the big finale. Right? So what do these women have in common? First and foremost, they overcome obstacles. Right? You break both of their feet, they keep fighting back. Doesn't let them not get here to the library today. I'm here for you. But truly, all of these women were told they were ugly, that they couldn't do things. They had massive losses in their lives. They had major setbacks. But it didn't matter. They learned to love the word no. I love the word no. When somebody says no to me, I go, oh yeah? Watch me. Now, turn the person next to you and say, oh yeah? Watch me. Go on. That was the first thing they did. The second thing that they did was they supported other women even when other women didn't support them. Women turned against Gypsy Rose Lee. Women turned against Elizabeth Taylor for being the big husband stealer that she was. She was. Let's not lie about it. But $270 million for charity. I mean, okay, she couldn't have been all bad, right? But they didn't care. They still supported other women, even when women didn't support them. And I think that that's very important in business, because I think really one of the many reasons why women have had it so hard in moving ahead in business is because other women say, oh, don't do that. You shouldn't be doing it. They judge. Yeah, don't judge. Be supportive of other women. Women are fabulous. Turn to the woman next to you and say, you are fabulous. Support them. Say, I support you. Right. And the last thing, and this is the thing I really want to drive home with all of you guys, every single one of these women, every single one, valued themselves. They valued what they had to offer. They knew they were worth $1 million. They knew they were worth more than that. They absolutely never doubted for a moment their actual true value. I love that Mae West says, I'm going to end standing up here, people. I love that she said, I never loved anyone as much as I have loved myself. Could you say the same about yourself? Right? Women love to give, but you've got to give to yourself first if you're going to help anyone else. And I just want to say this to you. It doesn't matter what your education or your social class is, right? It didn't matter. All these women fought those odds. It doesn't matter if you have no money, no resources. You can find it. You can find a way. And it doesn't matter what your age is or your physical abilities are. None of this matters, okay? If a 15-year-old can do it with no money, no car, no resources, can do it with a broken foot in front of you all, guess what? You can do it too. So I'll say this to you. You are stronger than you believe, and you have greater powers than you know. So go be a hero or a heroine. Thank you very much.